Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Pinner and Patrick Show. My name's Patrick Thompson with Adam Wasson right here to my right.
What's up, guys? Filling in for Doug Pinner today as he is off golfing.
Doing something, hopefully. So today we're going to talk about programming with athletes and the general population. General population is just your daily gym goer. Maybe they only go 3 times a week. So average population versus a sport-specific athlete. But last week we were at Vanilla Sugar Face and Body where I had my eyebrows waxed.
Still looking good. That lasts for a while.
Yeah, it's going to last about 4 weeks, I believe. So that's good for me because I got some caterpillars up there.
Understandable.
And we also watched the girls, Megan and Amanda was their names at Vanilla Sugar Face and Body. They talked about how to get permed eyelashes. Now, go back and watch that episode because they can explain it much better than Adam and I can.
They curved them. Look cool.
They look cool. It was pretty impressive. So this week, Adam, we have some high school sports, college sports. What's going on in the high school sports world here in Central Illinois?
Definitely. High school sports, it's been a good year for high school football here in Central Illinois. Been some upsets in these first few weeks. Richwood's beating Central.
Yeah.
Was the big one. Central coming off a state championship there. Still got a lot of talent. They lost a few of their guys, but they've still got quite a few Division I prospects, and their quarterback, Karan Taylor, who had an incredible week last week. They've got Gino Hess as their running back, Marcus Cox on the line. So they've still got quite a bit of talent, but Richwoods came in week 1, and Keenan Streetmatter, their quarterback, who's had an incredible year so far. He's got the highest passer ranking, maybe in Illinois. I know he does in the area for sure. Very above average passer rating there, doing great things as quarterback there. So they came in and beat them. This week, Richwoods has Manual, so it should be Manual. They're on the come up. They've got a great group of athletes there, but I think Richwoods has that pretty handedly. Then we also have Central versus Peoria Notre Dame, my alma mater. Sad to say it, but I think Central's got that one pretty handedly. Central's finding their groove. They're going to be tough to stop at this point.
Now, with football, you trained a lot of football athletes here in Peoria at the Iron Athlete Performance, right?
Yes, sir. Yep.
How many players are out there right now in high school playing that you were coaching in here over the summer months?
I've got a little over a dozen guys who are in the Peoria area, whether it's Mid-Illini or Big 12 in Peoria, and quite a few different schools, so it's always fun to watch. Got a few guys at Richwoods who have had awesome years. Cesar Suarez, Cody Wright, Paul, all those guys at Richwoods, Weldy, they're all doing real well. So fun to see that. A few of the Central guys, and then a few Notre Dame guys as well who are all having awesome seasons.
Awesome, cool. And then leading into college sports, college football, it's hot right now, entering week 3. It's already been week 3 as of last night. And you have a couple college athletes, correct?
Yep, I do there too. So got a few guys playing Division II, Division III, and then a few guys in the Division I as well.
Awesome.
A few guys at ISU. ISU's having a good year. Butler having a good year.
Very cool.
And then U of I, of course, playing tonight at USF.
Yes.
With Kendrick Green, who goes to U of I, and he's going down to Florida tonight. So they're going to see there, hopefully get another good win down there. Lovey's doing big things with them this year. So 2-0. Pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, it'll be a big game for Illinois because if they can come out, be a ranked team down in South Florida, that'll look real good for the program and Lovey Smith.
Definitely.
And that's a young team, so
exactly.
They have a bright future if they get this win tonight.
Very much so. Very much so.
With the high school, college sports, let's talk about the topic today here, Iron Athlete Performance, with owner Adam Wasson. Sport-specific training versus the general population. You want to lead into a little bit of sport-specific training first, and we'll talk about the general?
Yeah, perfect. Sounds good. So the big thing with sport-specific, I train a lot of athletes. Pat does a lot more of the general population. Time I've spent working with athletes, he spent learning how to maybe do rehab type stuff, just working with general population, people who've maybe had surgeries or accidents recently, injuries, different things that way. So there's definitely a different way to train them. You're not going to take a 16-year-old kid who is trying to go play college football somewhere and train him the same as, say, maybe a 45-year-old soccer mom who has had some sort of injury or something that way, maybe had surgery recently, which is what Pat specializes in. So when I've got the athletes, I'm looking at a few main things first. The first one is what sports they're playing, what their goals are.
All right.
So when you look at the sports, that's usually going to show what the goals are. Second thing I'm going to look at is where they're at in the season, whether they're about to get ready to go into the season, and that's going to really determine where I put them as far as intensity, volume, lots of different things there.
Okay.
And then 3, there's kind of quite a few different factors that start to come into play. I call it kind of the miscellaneous category, and that's going to include their age, any past injuries they may have had, where they're at as far as just kind of a skill level, different things that way. And that's going to determine what we need to work on as far as weaknesses, accessory work, all kinds of different things there.
Awesome. Very cool.
Pat, how's that compare to when you first take on a new client?
It's pretty much the same in a sense, but different. I mean, different criteria. So, like, let's say we have just call it a general population individual.
Put GP here.
GP, you bet have the main goal, the main outcome. Maybe the main goal is it could be lose weight, it could be become stronger, it could be, is another one that I hear a lot. And from that main goal, we kind of have to work backwards from it. We can't just work from the ground up. We have to look back, maybe what they've done in the past, what have they seen success with, what does not work. Then we talk about their likes and dislikes.
So for what they've done in the past, would you kind of consider that the fitness level they're at that point?
Could be number 2 there. And then number 3, kind of like you talked about with the injuries, their age, just miscellaneous things. I mean, that's where I come in and be like, all right, any medications, any injuries that you may have, anything I just need to be aware about that could have an effect on the training of your exercise. Those are the main 3 things that I see in the general population with individuals.
So it's really not that different when we look at it here.
Exactly.
Sports, that's the main goal for my athletes.
Right.
Is to get better at their sport, to play at the next level there. 2, fitness level, past, kind of where they're at in their life, different things that way. That's real similar to what season they're in, how far off they are from starting their next season, everything that way. And then 3, it's literally the exact same.
Exactly.
Everything as far as age, injuries, weaknesses, all of that.
Yep. Because deep down, you'd agree with this, I think we're all athletes.
Oh, definitely.
I think we're all athletes because our bodies are meant to move every single day. Our bodies are not meant to sit at a desk for 8 hours a day, in my opinion.
Definitely.
There needs to be recess at work.
Exactly.
There needs to be physical education at work. That's why when we were growing up in elementary school, we had recess, we had physical education to keep our bodies moving, because I remember we'd go to lunch, right? And then we'd go to recess, then we'd come back in the afternoon for 2.5 hours. It'd be like that.
Exactly.
The mornings were super slow, but the afternoons just went by like a breeze. And so that's why I think all of us, deep down, we all have an athlete inside.
Exactly. Kind of gets back to the primal urges there. I mean, you've got somebody who, I'm sure you see it too, but I've got these kids who come in and maybe they're 16, 17-year-old high schooler and they're getting in great grades, did real well on their ACT. They've got real bright future and they're just a real quiet kid in school, do really well, can sit there, do what they need to do, and then they come in here and it's like, okay, you're gonna deadlift today, and it's just their eyes light up, and it's just kind of like that release for them, like, okay, this is one where I don't have to be quiet anymore. I can kind of yell, I can drop weights, I can throw stuff around. I'm sure you see it the same. Maybe you got a blue collar accountant white collar accountant who he's sitting at his desk all day, and then you bring him into the gym, it's like, okay, we're gonna do deadlifts or rack pulls today, and his eyes just light up, and he just gets to throw weights around.
Absolutely. It's people come in from the stressful day, whether it's in the afternoon, lunchtime, whatever it may be, and all the things that happen during the day, they start to work out 10 minutes into their exercise, they feel so much better. Laughs start coming about.
Definitely.
And it's just like the orneriness of people start to come out, and that's good. That's definitely what we want as coaches for people, is to have a little bit more excitement and have their personality come out as they're exercising.
Oh, exactly. And that's one of the big things that I see with my athletes is a lot of times when they start, like, you got kids who are pretty shy when they come in here. which I'll toss Coot under the bus. You remember Luke?
Yep.
Like shy, quieter guy when he started coming in, and then by the time he left for college, like he would come in and he would just be yelling and doing his thing. Absolutely hilarious. It's one of those like get more comfortable with it, and then once you start using those weights, like it kind of opens some things up. And I mean, I'm sure you've read as much as I have, if not more, about psychology and exercise, and it really is just one of those that it's great for you on so many physiological, mental, psychological levels.
Absolutely. So we talked about the main goals here, sports, general population. So Adam, if we talked about sports, what sport would you want to talk about here?
Let's go baseball right now. I've got a few baseball guys that I'm working with.
Okay.
And so with baseball, the season that they're in right now, or their block that they're in, is an off season. So right now it's middle of September. Baseball season, they're going to start around beginning of February with tryouts, everything that way. So right now is the prime time for getting them to put on some size. We can go a little bit heavier. We don't have to worry about them having games and different things like that and being sore for anything. Because during the summer baseball, you've got travel. You've got AAU, however they work it that way with baseball. So they've got games maybe 2 times a week, practice 3 or 4 times a week. So got to be a little bit more careful with them then.
Now, this is where you would probably you'd add the strength and then the size, right?
Exactly. And then exactly.
More of the, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth or anything like that, but more of the, I hear athletes a lot, or back when I was in school, I need to get stronger so I can hit the ball further. But this is kind of where you do that right now.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so when I'm looking at programming, I break down into 3 categories. So we've got the strength category, we've got the dynamic category, and we've got the hypertrophy category. Now, the strength category, that's exactly as you were just saying. Getting stronger, hitting the ball further. Football guys, this is a big one, whether they're linemen or running backs, just hitting the hole, exploding through. Dynamic, that's what we call speed strength. So when you see guys and they're doing the skips and ladders, not going to touch on it too much, but you got the guys who are doing skips and ladders and box step overs and rolling around on the turf. They're trying to get faster. Dynamic, we're going to actually get faster here. This is where you do things with the chains and the bands like we did a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
You're doing sets with sub-maximal weight, below your, like, say, 60% of your max. You're adding the chains and the bands so you got less weight at the bottom, working on exploding out of the hole. So that's the dynamic. That's going to really work on speed. Hypertrophy, this is more the bodybuilding style. That's where you're putting on a lot more size. So I'll usually try to do that when it gets a little bit closer to the season, but not quite in season, because it's going to be a lot more volume. It's going to be, the athletes are going to be a lot more sore after because of that. I mean, you've done hypertrophy workouts, bodybuilding workouts, where afterwards you're taking the muscle to failure. You're really sore with it.
Absolutely. One thing I want to touch on is Adam mentioned the dynamics there with the chains, the bands, and becoming a better athlete, faster, stronger, more powerful. I mean, the dynamics there, I can attest to that because I'm jumping higher than I've ever been able to jump in my entire life, and I can't wait to find a basketball hoop because I might be able to dunk it now, and I'm 5'11".
What was the last box jump you got? Have you got 60 inches yet?
I'm not sure, but I know it's at least 50-some.
Oh, definitely.
And it's just, I mean, that's from lifting weights. It's not from doing plyometrics.
Exactly. I think the closest thing to plyos we've had you do is we've added weight vest box jumps. And that's more just to work on that explosiveness, but it's still that same motion. You're starting in a squat, driving through your hips, getting everything through there. But it's not one of those where you've been on a jumping machine or you've been doing skips and plyos to start your workouts every day or end your workouts every day.
Let me ask you this here. For high school athletes that are out there watching, do they need the parachutes, the weighted ankles, things of that nature?
It's kind of going to be the same as when you're working with general population. The accessories aren't going to do the work for you. I mean, you can go in somewhere and they've got the most incredible machines, incredible facility, looks like a Division I state-of-the-art weight room, and they're charging you $400 a month to go there. You're not going to get better just because you walk in there.
Right.
Same thing with you. You've got these people, they may show up and they may be wearing the waist trainer and all this stuff, they're not going to get better just because they show up.
Right.
They got to put in the work. They got to do everything that way. So it's one of those, to start out, just start by putting in the work. All those things, they can have their place.
Yeah,
but
sure.
It's not going to make or break you.
Yep, kind of like the where you have your place with your blood restriction bands.
Exactly.
I'm big on those right now. Do I necessarily need them every day? Probably not. I just like to have fun with it.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Exactly. But you've worked up to that point, too.
Gotcha.
You've done all the curls. You've done everything tricep. You know how to use them. You know what you're using them for. So you've worked up to that point. You didn't get in the gym when you were 16 years old, and the first thing you did was put on the occlusion bands.
That's very true. So stick to the basics, basically.
Exactly. Exactly.
So before I interrupted you there, you're going to talk about hypertrophy, I believe.
Yep, exactly. And that's similar, kind of segues in from what you were talking about, the blood restriction. So it's one of those, like, occlusion is one method that I have Pat use here. That's not something I would necessarily use with the high schoolers because it's a little bit more advanced. They still have chances to grow using more basic methods.
Right.
That's something after you maybe hit a plateau that you start to do that, maybe for recovery. I'm sure you've used it for injury training.
Oh, yeah.
Injury recovery. I've been doing it for my tricep and my tendonitis.
Yep.
Same thing.
Go ahead and touch on the occlusion or the blood flow restriction here.
So essentially what occlusion training is you're actually restricting blood flow out of a muscle group. So we'll do it with biceps, triceps, calves. You can really do it with any appendage.
Right.
And we'll use something and tie right here, almost like a tourniquet. The blood will still be coming in to the arm, but it's not going to be going out. Then you're going to work the muscle using submaximal weight.
Right.
This one's something I'm sure that you've used with some of your clients, with maybe someone who's had injuries, isn't able to do weight, but still needs that sort of kind of push for it, the intensity. So you're going to have the blood flow coming in, not going to be coming out. So you're still going to do the reps. You're going to use the submaximal weight. Because you've got the blood flow restricted there, it's going to give you that same stimulus, that same stressors if you were using the heavy weight. So it's something that it's not going to put the stress on your actual muscles, joints, tendons, but it's going to have that same effect for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then once you take the kind of tourniquet off per se, you're going to get a rush of lactic acid, a rush of pretty much recovery through there. That's where it's really good for the injury recovery. So like I was saying, I'll do it for my tendonitis in my elbow right now. I'll do triceps, biceps, superset them. Then I'll take it off, and I can almost feel my elbow, the tendonitis is starting to clear up there because of the lactic acid rush, because of the rush of all the good stuff coming through after that.
Yeah, he's 100% accurate. Make sure you don't go out and just do this on your own because we just told you this. It's something that can be dangerous. So make sure you actually have like the confident knowledge behind it if you're doing this on your own, or have a coach that has the knowledge to show you how to do it, please.
Definitely.
So, anything else to add to the baseball off season and then the SDH here?
Well, real quick, I'll kind of break down where we're at. So like I said, right now it's September. The guys have about 4 or 5 months before they go into the season.
Yeah.
So right now the main thing that we're focusing on with these, you can kind of we'll do 2 at once usually. So right now we're focusing more on strength right here and hypertrophy. So the big thing that they're trying to do is they're trying to get stronger and they're trying to get bigger. Like I said, that's a great time to do it is during the off season where they're at right now. So with that, we'll start to kind of program by what they're trying to do, but also where they're at. So we'll start programming the first block. I break things down into blocks, phases, and weeks. So block there, under the block there's a phase, under that there's a week. So a block can be anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks. A phase will last anywhere from 1 to 2 weeks.
I'm just going through a phase.
Just a phase, Mom. And then a week will last anywhere from 1 to 7 days, because that's how long a week is. So we start with the week there. We start with the block there. That's how we design everything. So with this block, like I said, I'm basing everything off of strength and hypertrophy. The first one, they're going to kind of ease into it. So in that first block, or in that first phase, 1 to 2 weeks, it's going to get them into the block, really start to focus on what they're trying to do. They might be doing something like maybe a simple 5x5 at 60 to 70% on the main lift, then 3x10 on on accessories for hypertrophy there.
Okay.
And then from there, we go into the next phase. So like I said, phase is 1 to 2 weeks, block is 4 to 8. So we'll fit anywhere from 4 to 8 phases into that one block.
Yeah.
And from there, we break down into weeks. The week will be, like I'd said, the workouts very specifically what we're trying to do. Right. So for each athlete, the main thing that I have them do is I look at how long I'm going to have them for. I'll break that down into blocks. Break that block, take that first block, break that down into a phase. Take that first phase, break that down into weeks, and get it very specific there. Now, I'm sure, like I said, when you have people come in for general fitness, general personal training, you have kind of the same thing.
Definitely. So before I touch on that, basically, here's Adam's blocks here.
Spot on.
For the visual learners. Because, I mean, it's an art and a science with this. So he has his blocks here, his phases in each block, and then a little breakdown in each block. So, I mean, he's not just throwing something at these athletes and just saying, okay, you got 12 reps this week, 10 reps next week, 8 reps next week, 6 reps. We're going to work up to a max by week 8. See you later. That's not how it works.
Exactly.
There's an art and a science behind it. And that's where, I mean, the athletes put in the work. What happens behind closed doors, what Adam's doing, is really how the athlete gets to where they want to be.
Definitely.
So, you asked me about how it works for myself for the most part.
Right, definitely.
So it's similar in a sense. So I'll use this as an example here. If I had a client coming in to me and the main goal, there's so many goals out there that I can use, but man, give me a goal to use.
Let's see. You've got a 45-year-old mom, and her kids are getting older, and she wants to lose weight now that her kids are in school and she's got more time.
45.
Here we go. I'll write it down for you down here. 45,
lose weight, exercise because she has kids and she probably doesn't have much time.
Yep, exactly.
Right. So she's not old. I mean, I don't think anyone's really old. It's just age is just a number. So I'm going to take her through an assessment for the most part. I'm going to take her through 5 different movement patterns. First one's going to be a knee movement pattern. So it could be a squat, a lunge, step up, something like that where you're putting most of the force on your knee. The next one is going to be a hip movement pattern. It's going to be a hip hinge, so a deadlift, rack pull, kettlebell swing, things of that nature. Really see what the hamstring mobility, flexibility is of the hips as a whole. Then
Makes perfect sense.
And the next one is going to be a push movement. Typically, I do a vertical overhead dumbbell press for that push movement because a lot of people are really tight in the anterior side of their body, really weak in the posterior. So I see a lot of people with the vertical movement going like that because they're not strong enough to keep their arms back. So after the push one, I do a pull movement pattern, and that's typically a flat pull down, dumbbell row, things like that. And then usually I finish with a core exercise. Typically it's a bent arm plank for time. If people can get to 2 minutes, they have a pretty good structural core. I mean, it's strong, they have the endurance, but 2 minutes is pretty good. I mean,
definitely.
I'd be shaking my boots. So I have my 5 movement patterns for the first phase, and based off of those 5 movement patterns off of that assessment I do, that's kind of how I will determine their first block for the general population. And typically I'll pick 3 days, let's call it, for this individual, and have 3 full body days actually. Okay. One day might be 5 sets of 10 reps as a circuit for exercises. Yeah. The next day, day 2, might be, let's say 3 sets of 10 for the circuit. So we're dropping the volume down a little bit more.
Definitely.
And then the last one, it's going to be a little bit in between. So it's like a heavy day, moderate, or heavy, light, moderate day.
Okay.
So, and I bunch mine into circuits with these people because their typically main goal is to get stronger and lose weight. And they're typically anywhere from 25 to 65 years old.
Right.
Time's not on their side most days, so I want to make sure I'm as efficient as possible with these people.
And the other big difference there is that they don't necessarily have a deadline. I mean, I'm sure you have a lot of people who do come in that they do have like a time when they want to lose weight by, but they're not looking at different seasons for their sports. They're not going to say, well, I've got to be this strong by this point, and then we have to back off because I'm going to be playing my sport. You've got the general population, they're not going to have that deadline of, I've got this season coming up. So you're with the full body days. I don't do a lot of full body days with my guys because we're working more specific on what they're trying to do for their sport.
Right.
With you, that's perfect to do full body days because you've got everything you need, get them done, get them started, and get them going in that time there.
Absolutely. And with the general pop, it's typically an adaptation phase. All primary compound movements, whether it's dumbbells or barbells, are body weight only. We'll make any modifications necessary as we go along in that block. Then ignite, that's full body as well, adding a little bit of aerobics / cardio in there for them, getting their heart rate way up and mixing in some more weight training. Block 3, more of quick, it's similar to ignite, but each day is a certain body part.
Okay.
Day 1 might be legs, day 2 might be upper body, day 3 might be arms and core. So I mix it up in terms of the area of muscle groups in block 3. Then block 4, by this point, I typically know where they're at in their training and what they're able to do from there on out, and I will make it a lot harder.
Definitely. So, about how long are you keeping for each of these phases here?
3 to 4 weeks. 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay, awesome.
Our blocks, 3 to 4 weeks. So phases, yeah.
Right on.
So to finish up, in a sense, we are all athletes deep down.
Oh, exactly.
And there's a lot of similarities in how the general population and the sports train, but I do it a little different than Adam does, which is it's all right because the similarities are still in there.
Oh yeah, you look at it, we essentially have the same programming style. It's just that we base it off of who we're training and what their goals are. It's the only difference there.
Exactly.
And there really isn't a bad way to train if you've got that plan. The problem is that you'll see some of these coaches, and not mention any names, but you'll see coaches and they might have pretty popular training and stuff because they do cool things and post a lot of videos. The problem is that there's not a whole lot of plan behind it. You'll see the athletes they're training, they're doing the same thing, and then the same thing, and then the same thing over and over. And maybe the coaches get in there and they can't really think of anything, just throw something against the wall and see what sticks. And
rolling the dice.
Exactly. That's not doing anything for the athletes. That wouldn't do anything for the general population. I'm sure if you had people come in and you were just kind of going off the top of your head, you wouldn't have a whole lot of clients. You clearly don't do that because you got a lot of clients.
Yep. So, Adam, great stuff today, my man.
That was
on
awesome.
The programming. Guys, if you have questions, go to Facebook, check out Iron Athlete Performance, or go on Facebook, check out Adam Wasson. What's the email?
awasson93@gmail.com.
Perfect.
Anything local sports, we didn't get a whole lot of time to talk about it, local or national. Twitter, TF Sports 309. That's the Fact Sports with Waffles Kelly there. So awesome new podcast to check out.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. My name is Patrick Thompson with Adam Wasson on the Pinner and Patrick Show.
Thank you guys.